almost 250 million people. That's the number which is coming as far as China is concerned, have been reportedly infected with the coronavirus. This is in just first 20 days of December. According to an internal estimate from the nation's top health officials, as per reports, roughly 18% of China, that's 1.4 billion people, and they represent also, remember, the largest COVID-19 outbreak till date globally. China is once again in denial mode. It started with China denying an uptick in cases earlier to a timid acceptance of around 4,000 cases across the country and no deaths at all. Those claims have now been exposed in front of the world. Gut-wrenching videos and pictures are going viral. They show overflowing mortuaries and hospital beds. Now, documents also show that the deaths were not even discussed in official meetings which were held in China, leading or indicating to a massive cover-up attempt by the authorities. The rise in cases has led to a massive COVID scare amidst not only neighboring countries like India, but the entire world. The question is, will the world once again let China go without any repercussions? I'm being joined by Dr. PSP Rao. He's a consultant surgeon at Manipal Hospital from Bengaluru. Colonel J.S. Sodhi, foreign affairs expert, also with us. Prasoon Sharma, China and foreign policy expert, with us. Professor Madhav Nalapad, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, also with us. I welcome all of you. I'm going to start first of all with you, Professor Nalapad. What do you make, sir, of these revelations coming from China? China, of course, is a country which hides facts, hides truth. We've seen it from the beginning of the coronavirus. The world had suffered because of China. All of us, we were forgetting about masks, we were forgetting about vaccines, going back to our daily lives. But looks like we are going to be trapped once again in the same vicious circle, thanks to repeat offender China. What action do you think needs to be taken against China, sir? Is it possible for the world to unite and call China out for its COVID canards?
Well, the world is now seeing openly what is happening in China, because the fact is that today, with the help of smartphones and other social media apparatuses, you cannot really hide the reality beyond a certain point. The problem facing the leadership in China, General Secretary Xi Jinping in particular, is that he has made it a point to say to the whole world that the Chinese communist system, in fact, it is especially led by him, is the best system in the world for tackling any kind of challenge, be it economic, be it sociological, be it in terms of health. And now you are seeing that you have seen the contrast between India and China. And you remember that the Chinese Communist Party for a long time has been basically saying, look at India, it's only one-fifth our size in economic terms. India is so much behind China. Our system is therefore so much better. And now you are seeing in India almost a normal situation under Prime Minister Modi, who has been democratically elected to power at the head of a party that has democratically secured a majority. And what do you see in China? You see chaos, you see confusion, and you see all these, horrible things taking place, with the government basically either being a bystander or helpless. So the biggest blow to the Communist Party of China is the reality that democracy in India works far better than autocracy in the People's Republic of China.
Absolutely, sir. And Dr. PSP Rao, if you could come in here. China, of course, is an example which the world need not follow. They have been exposed in front of the world. All their COVID lies today stand exposed. Earlier also, I remember you joined a similar panel when we had spoken about the work done by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the way India has been able to handle the coronavirus crisis. Would you say, sir, that there is a lesson for the entire world to learn today from India?
Good afternoon, Meenakshi, and to all your viewers. Yes, there is definitely a lesson. India has shown that if you have the cooperation of all the people and you communicate well with them, you will have that cooperation. And when the entire 1.4 billion, nearly 1.4 billion people cooperate with the government the power is much more than an autocratic setup, which is surrounded by an echo chamber through which no feedback comes. There is absolutely no one who can show a mirror to the CCP hierarchy saying that these are the things that you could do better, these are the errors you are committing. Nothing. Whereas here, thanks to our Prime Minister, who is an excellent communicator, to a well-oiled vaccination machinery which we have had for many years, especially because of the polio and other vaccines drives which were being conducted. And we are also the world's pharma capital. We produce most of the drugs that WHO buys also to many of the countries. And if you remember, in the first year of the pandemic itself, even people like President Trump, President Bolsonaro, Prime Minister Johnson, who had initially dismissed this as a flu, eventually requested us for drugs, for vaccines. Prime Minister Johnson even had the vaccine from India, the Covishield vaccine from India. And any number of countries, nearly more than 100, received drugs or vaccines from India, many of them as a gift. We weren't profiteering in these essential supplies like China was doing. China was sending defective vaccines and defective medical equipment and then trying to profiteer on it. So there is a lot of difference between the two. And we effectively vaccinated the medical and frontline staff first. Then we covered the people who had comorbid conditions, and then the elderly. What has happened now in China? They first gave the vaccines to the armed forces, to the industrial workers, to the younger generation, and they left the elders to the end, resulting now in the admission and deaths of large number of elders. The information, reliable information we are getting is mostly from expatriate health workers who are in the corporate sector of China, who are telling us exactly what is going on. And the number of deaths, the pile-up of cases in the ICU, and they are saying that most of the patients who are being admitted are elders. They were the ones who were left to the last to be inoculated as if they were dispensable. See, these are all the various issues. And
well, exactly. And when it comes to China's attempts, you're right, sir, when it comes to China's attempts to hide information, all of that, those tactics also are not working, isn't it, Prasoon Sharma? Since you are a China and foreign policy expert, sir, it shows very, very clearly, the visuals and pictures which have gone viral. They not only show the extent of the devastation the virus has caused in China, but how Xi Jinping's iron fist with which he used to rule China, how that's loosening as well, because in a autocracy like China, one would not have expected the type of protest which we had seen earlier, and now these videos to be released, isn't it, sir?
Yeah, it's an alarming situation, not only for China, but for the world. Like, as you mentioned, in the first 20 days, 18% population has been infected. And in last week of January, there is a Lunar New Year for Chinese, where there will be a mass, travel within the China. So there is an expectation if this trend continues, around 50 to 60% of the population will be infected. Other larger impact, which I think India as well as the Quad nations should notice, is that now the Chinese manufacturing units, including the API one, is working on 40 to 50% of the capacity. And if this infection increases, there will be a lot of issues regarding drug manufacturing, and it's time to nudge Make in India and boost Make in India. And what Quad has mentioned earlier, that India will be like a major supply for vaccines, including the generic medicines also. So all of us should, be prepared for this aspect as well, because if China goes infected more than 50% of their population, not only domestically it will, impact, economically also it will impact, and it can create a, crisis, especially for three to four major areas. One is medical raw materials, heavy mechanic machineries, and IT and telecom equipments for India. So we need to boost up, be very clear about our strategies and plan B if this thing happens within China.
Yes, and that's a pertinent point which you make, when it comes to the China conundrum as well. Colonel J.S. Sodhi, if you could come in here, sir. When we're speaking about a response when it comes to China, as a defense personnel, of course, there is a quad grouping when it comes to China's expansionist policies. But when it comes to these issues, it shouldn't it be the World Health Organization, the UN, etc., which should perhaps step in? But we've seen how these organizations have acted or have been completely redundant when it comes to pulling up China. What do you think are the practical options in front of the world to make China pay for all these lies which it has been spreading far as the coronavirus spread is concerned? Because end of the day, it is not only, as Prasoon Sharma said, a difficult situation for China. They exacerbate the situation and literally jeopardize the lives of others living in other countries across the world as well, isn't it, sir?
Jai Hind, Meenakshi. It's my honor to be on a news channel and a privilege to be with the esteemed co-panelists. Reports after reports have shown that China is culpable and the culprit for this COVID-19 virus, which till date has caused about 7 million deaths worldwide. And what is more dangerous and deadly is that since last few days, China has stopped sending its daily COVID-19 details to the World Health Organization. The entire international agencies like United Nations, WHO are helpless against China. Not only them, Meenakshi, the whole world is helpless against China. In the last year, 2021, there was a trade with China, the global trade with China was worth $6.05 trillion, up 30% from 2020. This shows that in spite of every world leader knowing that China is the culprit for this deadly virus, no country has been able to do anything. Well, in my view, the only way to give a strong and stern message to China is to decouple and delink economically from with China. Till the time the countries worldwide do not decouple and delink from China, China will keep on getting away scot-free because it has deep pockets. And there's a famous English saying which goes, is the money which makes the mayor go.
Well, absolutely. And Professor Nalapat, if you could come in here, sir, as a rhetoric, as a conversation, it sounds great. All of us saying that the world needs to act against China. We need to make China pay, hold China accountable. But how do we practically do that? Is it just rhetoric? Is it possible really for even the superpowers, the US, etc., to come together and, make China pay for wreaking havoc, not just when it comes to our health, our lives, jeopardizing all of it, but economies all across the world, from the beginning of the pandemic to this latest variant, which is rearing its ugly head in China. China's been exposed time and again. We all know that China is fudging numbers, they're under-reporting, they're refusing to give any sort of concrete information to organizations like the WHO. What do you think, sir, can be really done against China? Is it even possible?
You're quite right, Meenakshi, and there is no question that there's a big vulnerability for the entire world economy because of this over-reliance on China. Decoupling is taking place, especially in the field of high-tech. You've recently seen that Tesla is looking at completely shutting down its huge plant in Shanghai. But the reality of the situation is that the Chinese Communist Party is expert at buying up elites. Even in democracies, elites are very, very powerful in the formulation of policy. And the Chinese Communist Party is very good at buying up elites. You have seen in our neighboring country of Nepal how once again Mr. KP Oli has come back to center stage when the people of Nepal, the democracy of Nepal, wanted an entirely different individual from Mr. Oli. So he has come back in center stage through a prime minister who will have to listen to him. So this is what the Chinese Communist Party does. They buy up elites. And here the problem is, as Prasoon, as our military and scientific experts will tell you, the danger is that in the Chinese Communist Party way of thinking, it's all relative. Even if China is doing horribly, if the rest of the world is doing horribly, then it's good for China. So the difficulty is that we have to be careful that there is not an effort to either create panic or to ensure that certain strains get created and released that again cause havoc across the world. Because in the Chinese system is not what you achieve, it's how you prevent others from achieving even the little bit that you have achieved. And I'd like to say, Meenakshi, the great disappointment I have as a global citizen.
Yeah.
The United Nations Security Council has been made completely powerless. You have a system of the three Western powers and then Russia and China. So you have an equation of basically 3 plus 2 equaling 0. WHO, the less said about it, the better. Dr. Rao has characterized the WHO very, very well on different occasions. The WHO is now become a wing of the Communist Party of China and is basically spreading Communist Party propaganda. And I would say, watch out if the WHO again tries to enforce some kind of a lockdown that will cost us tens of millions of jobs. I don't think leaders are going to buy into that. Certainly, our Prime Minister refused. 2021, no lockdown. Up to 2022, no vaccine mandate, contrary to WHO's instructions. But I'd like to say we have to be on the alert. If China is in this situation, China would like the world to be in an even worse situation. And this is the thought of Xi Jinping.
Well, exactly. And, when you speak of the alertness, Indian authorities have shown extreme alacrity, haven't they? Dr. PSP Rao, as of now, look at the numbers. They're not very high, but we know the way this variant spreads and how contagious it can be. India has been able, of course, to gauge at a possible danger and has reacted in the requisite fashion which was needed. But when it comes to, making China accountable, sir, we not only mentioned the UN, which of course Professor Nalapat spoke about, but also the World Health Organization. I remember you yourself have written multiple editorials about the role, the dubious and suspicious role, which the World Health Organization has also played as far as this entire pandemic is concerned, isn't it, sir?
Two things I want to mention before I speak about WHO.
Yeah.
One, that the Incovac, the nasal vaccine, has already been approved and will soon be available to all of us. It is a major improvement, I hope. Just like the oral polio vaccine was a major improvement in polio control. This it will increase the local immunity in the nasal membrane and the respiratory tract. Second, the antiviral drugs. If you remember, we had all kinds of antiviral drugs being promoted earlier, but now we have a specific antiviral drug combination from Pfizer, which has been licensed to a Hyderabad company. So, and this is being made available in boxes of 20 tablets. It's a combination of nirmatrelvir and ritonavir. These are specific to managing the severe infections of COVID-19. So these two things are positive, in addition to our already existing system of managing this pandemic. Then coming to your second question about WHO.
Yeah.
Now let's look at what is the mandate of WHO. Its mandate is, one, to promote health worldwide. Second, to keep the world safe from health emergencies. Third, which includes also accidents, etc. Third, to serve the vulnerable population. Now let's see what WHO has been achieving out of these mandates. Earlier, it was famous for having eradicated smallpox by international cooperation, and it nearly eradicated polio. The only problem was Pakistan and Afghanistan, which seem to still harbor polio and who are not cooperating in the polio eradication campaign. But when it comes to COVID-19, they have just voiced the propaganda of the Chinese government, initially saying that there is no human-to-human transmission. They have also said whatever China tells them to say, they have been saying it. Thus, they have lost the respect of the world.
No, they've lost
And-
credibility, and you're right about that. You're absolutely right about that. Prasoon Sharma, if you could come in here, Dr. Rao was talking about how these organizations, perhaps like the WHO, Dr. Tedros, if we speak of, even Dr. Fauci, they've all lost credibility in the face of this pandemic because they had initially seen to be towing the line of the Chinese authorities. But what next? As far as China is concerned, being an export on that country, what do you think is going to be China's, next game plan? Because we've seen what China does. They always underreport cases. They always pretend like all is fine. We remember, those pictures and videos of people partying in China, which they had released as a part of their propaganda at the beginning of the pandemic. This time also, they were trying to suppress these videos. They've come out in the open. But what really, as far as, China is concerned, their game plan, what's going to be their blueprint? In the backdrop of this sort of spreading of the pandemic, because we've seen how Xi also uses this as a diversionary tactic to sort of look at other fronts. Perhaps it could even be their expansionist policies.
I think in this context, I would also like to highlight that there is a chance for India to enhance and expand the influence again. Like the allies of India, whether it's France, Japan, and South Korea, which is infected most from this current virus and outbreak in China. So we must be ready to support them in terms of, vaccination, medicine support, and other. And regarding your question about China, yes, there is a, internal divide. There are few provinces which release the data about the COVID infections, but the central government, purged that. So there is a lot of, internal, I would say, disagreement within the China. And the other aspect is the recent leadership which Xi Jinping has been, selected. Most of them are new. They haven't done such kind of, larger projects on a central government basis. They were in province governments. So this thing, I think, is also impinging China because they don't have a matured hand to handle such a, massive pandemic. And there was some kind of impulsive, decisions also, like from zero COVID to suddenly open the whole China, where there is a lot of debate going on that it should be, it must have been done in phases, and scientific consultation must be included. So there is a lot of internal, mismanagement clashes is going on in China. And I don't think so there is a strategic plan within the China, but yes, there will be a lot of smoke screens, which we as a world and India should be able to, navigate and prepare for a better Indian position, not only in Asia, but in the global multilateral forum, being G20's, president for this year. It's a chance for India, Prime Minister Modi, to engage with various stakeholders who are affected by this and be ready to support the world when China's, economic recovery will take at least 6 to 8 months. If this, the growth of infection keeps going for next 1 to 2 months. So world needs alternative, world needs support or answer from government of India.
Well, absolutely. And, as far as the government is concerned, sir, personally, the government has done all it can. Look at the way vaccines have been, distributed, not just to people in our country. The number of inoculations is 200 crore plus. It's the booster shots. But end of the day, those are available. And it depends on the people. They need to come forward and get their boosters. But Colonel J.S. Sodhi, if you could come in here, since we're speaking of the response of the world, I'm not too sure if you are the right person to answer this. But what do you think should be done against China? Can we not have an embargo when it comes to travel from China? Why are we and why is the world really allowing any passenger or any Chinese national living in China to come in our borders? Because we know that there is such a massive pandemic, the way it's spreading there. There is, of course, a chance of infections coming into our borders by Chinese nationals which are traveling via air. Why is perhaps, say, trade still happening with China? Are these harsh steps a possibility? Do you think government should now think in that direction as well?
Meenakshi, the name of the World Health Organization should be changed to China Health Organization and its headquarters moved from Geneva, Switzerland to Beijing, China, because WHO has failed the world miserably since the last quarter of 2019. And coming to your specific question, I am of the same opinion as you. I think it's high time that for next few weeks, all the countries should ban the flights to and from China. Secondly, all citizens of China who are already here should not be made to travel outside the city that they are presently residing, because we do not know what virus they are carrying. It should be incumbent for all Chinese citizens the world over in any country to be made to undergo the RT-PCR test. Till we do not take this harsh and stern measures, we will find ourselves in a similar position what happened in the beginning of 2020 when the whole world was caught unaware. And like you rightly said, my last point, that India among many nations has performed very well. Indians have done the good vaccination program. Our COVID-19 fighting measures are in place. But it's high time that strong steps should be taken with China. And like I told in my initial views, that trade, the global trade with China should be stopped with immediate effect.
Well, absolutely. Can the world ostracize China? Is that a possibility? Well, some of the experts say, yes, we should. Perhaps the world should think in those lines. The World Health Organization, the UN, of course, have disappointed when it comes to action on China. But high time that China is made accountable for all the lies it has spread as far as the COVID pandemic is concerned, because it jeopardizes our lives, the lives of people across the world.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.